Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Draft Bros. Today, we are going to be talking about the 2024 NFL Draft. This time, the tight ends. We've talked about plenty of them, and we are here, of course, with my co-host, Bro Schmo. Tell him what's good.
Hey, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy, Bro Schmo. I'm here with Alex, of course. Draft Bros, go ahead, become a Draft Bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up. If you enjoyed the content, as always, let us know what you think in the comment section below, because we're going to go over our top 5 at each position, but hang with us until the end, because we're going to go over some of the guys who maybe just didn't make our list. So I guess without further ado, Alex, do you want to start us off?
Let's roll. My number 5 is a guy who's kind of potentially going to be a slot weapon. He is just under 230 pounds. It is Brant Kuithe, who was the Dalton Kincaid before Dalton Kincaid. I ended up watching it back, and actually you still could tell Dalton Kincaid is significantly better. So I got to preface it with that. But this guy is an elite route runner for the position. He is very mobile, so thank God at that size he can be. But overall, honestly, he's a pretty damn good blocker for the fact that he's extremely undersized. Other notes that I do have, he's not going to be a guy you want to throw up a contested catch to, but it may be somebody that you want to throw in traffic. He's going to be one of those reliable slot guys, but maybe you don't want to do the Gronk test with him. Again, at 6'2", 230, not necessarily going to be your primary option, but overall, great athlete, and he was an extremely reliable target, earned the trust of his quarterback before a first round and top tier tight end, and Dalton Kincaid earned that trust.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he probably would have came out yesterday, if not, or yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah. He would have came out yesterday. No, he would have came out last year, but he's had the knee injury, which kind of led to like the big emergence where like Kincaid kind of became the weapon there. Obviously the size is a big gripe. He's kind of more built like reminds me a little bit of Kyler Granson. And I don't think he's the most natural ball catcher. I think he's like a bit of a body catcher. I mean, he came in with about almost close to that 10% drop rate. You kind of get a little crazy. But you're right about him being a great athlete. Like he really, really is.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Again, poor frame. You're not going to be using him in the situation where it's 4th down and you're going to want the most reliable hands on your team. But if you just want a solid option who will get open, and when he's open, hopefully not drop it, because Rising does kind of put the ball in weird spots. So I don't know how much you could trust the drop rate completely, but he's a good player to have.
Yeah, Rising might not even start against Florida because of injury.
Well, I mean, after watching that game, this guy is super hot and cold, but that's a topic for another time. Who is your number 5?
My number 5 is Jaheim Bell, currently at Florida State, formerly of South Carolina, coming in at 6'3". What's his updated weight, Alex?
239 pounds.
39 pounds. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing if he's actually that weight later on in the All-Star circuit. But the dude was a monster for South Carolina back in 2021. Last year in 2022, he was used in a variety of different ways, not just, tight end, inline, in slot, but they actually used him in the backfield. He started a couple of games at running back. Kind of wild. Yeah. He had over 200. Was it 200? I just pulled it up here. I gotta look. 257 yards. He had 3 tutties and he had 13 force missed tackles too. Mm-hmm. And that was just as a running back. That's just stinking wild. But he's a great receiver. Great after the catch target too. Only had 24 receptions, but still had 11 force missed tackles. Now he's going to be at Florida State, which they have a plethora of weapons to choose from, but probably has some of the best hand-eye coordination in this class. Just attacks the ball when it's in air. He had a drop rate of 5% over the course of his career. Really good. Tracks the ball well downfield. Just throw it his way, and he's liable to catch it. Just come down with it. I love it. Love the speed. Love the athleticism. Love the mean streak he plays with once he does secure the catch. Again, a guy that can create after the catch. Lined up everywhere, so someone you could maybe look at. We kind of know, like with Chig Okonkwo, he kind of had that big rise because of what he could do as like this downhill block-in back in the backfield. And man, like for me, like the biggest gripe was kind of the awkward size, because it's not like he's like the biggest guy or the lankiest guy. Maybe not someone you're going to look to as a traditional inline guy, but I mean, I feel like the NFL game currently, it's not necessarily saying inline's like out of fad, because obviously that's a big part, but they are kind of moving away from something like that. They're not moving away, but they are definitely including these guys that can create after the catch, that can line up multiple places.
Yeah, there's a lot of versatility that's being added to the position. It's no longer just like the dip buck his linebacker thing. You don't have just, a dude who could just stuff the run. You got guys who are passers and coverage guys. Tight ends taking that similar jump in terms of their versatility. I will talk about Jaheim later because he is significantly higher on my list. So I'm going to jump to my number 4 in Brevin Spann-Ford out of Minnesota. I fell in
Darnell
love.
Washington Light.
Darnell Washington Light, but I think he's a better route runner than Darnell. I saw a lot of these 90-degree cut routes, so the sharp cuts, the ins, the outs, and the way that he was able to maneuver his body and create separation at a 270-pound frame is not normal. And to me, I think that's absolutely awesome. Looking at my notes here, he's not necessarily one to force any form of missed tackles. That's the only unfortunate thing. He likes to use his shoulder. That's a plus. I think that could translate better to the NFL.
I mean, you're big. You might as well be a pattern ram,
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to see him doing the Sam Laporta jukes and stuff in the middle of
Laporta's also like 40 pounds light.
Exactly. So, play to your strengths. So, Brevin Spann-Ford, he has that incredible size. He has that incredible ability overall, especially when it came to running routes. Just really surprised me. I actually grade him as one of the best, if not the best, route runner, not named Brant Kuithe, in the tight end class. Now, other notes for him, he actually is extremely fast for his size. Again, we're talking about Darnell Washington. Darnell tested out really well in the 40. I could see the same thing from him. But hands, honestly, really reliable. Nothing in the God tier range where it's like sub 5% drop rate, maybe like 4 or 3, but I believe it's around 5. And something that's he's a good player. I think his one issue, surprisingly, is blocking. He has the size, just hasn't really put pen to paper in sort of.
I put for like his blocking, like a lot of it's a leverage thing. I mean, when you're that tall, it's going to be hard to get down.
Yeah, but we've seen like guys like Darnell Washington who can play like a tackle. I was hoping to get the same from Brevin, but he's a better receiver, worse blocker than our other compadre for the Steelers.
See. My number 4 is coming out of Arizona State. It is Jalen Conyers, and he's coming in at officially 6'4", 265. As far as I know, this is official, but I pulled these numbers back in June when I did my rankings.
I'm going to check it while you talk.
Yeah, check it while I talk, please. So initially he was at Oklahoma where he redshirted, but then he decided to transfer almost immediately and ended up going to Arizona State. Didn't really see playing time until 2022, where he was an absolute monster. Might have the best hands in this class, like legitimately, like great length. He'll go up, pull the ball down, high points it well. He literally has highlight reel catches. You could just go check out the Arizona game. I put this in my notes. I was like, highlight catches, Arizona. Might not be the fastest guy. Definitely not the fastest guy. He does look a bit lumbering when moving. But honestly, like I was like checking out some of his camp stuff on Twitter. And he is pretty nimble with his feet. Like it's not like he's a slouch as a route runner. And like he's not going to cut on a dime, but I don't know. You put a nickel or a quarter out there, I think he could do it. I really do. The dude is amazing after the catch. I think it was 21 forced missed tackles last year. And like literally, he just eats contact. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet of contact. He's there for it. Love it. Ideal size. He can bully guys during the route. And I will say, like, he's not fast, but he's got long strides, so he can build up that speed, especially up the seams. And I think he'll probably be in the 4.7 range. So, like I said, I'm not saying this guy's like dirt slow. I think he is solid enough. Doesn't need to polish up on the blocking technique. Doesn't always latch cleanly or deliver like the most ideal strikes. Does kind of attack with like wide hands, sometimes as a blocker. But I mean, what really puts him on the map is what he can do as a receiver, as a contested catch guy, as someone after the catch.
For sure. Conyers is one of those guys who I have already gotten to, but there's just not a ton of tape out there for me to feel comfortable giving a full eval on him. But I have very similar remarks. I didn't think he was spectacular as a route runner at that size. You don't necessarily need to be, but that's the weird thing about Brevin Spann-Ford. That's why I fell in love with him. I was like, oh, wow. You're taller, obviously, than Conyers, but, 270-pound frame, can run routes almost like a big wide receiver. But yeah, Conyers, really intrigued to see some all-22 tape first. Be great. And then
someday, please.
Caddies, get your thing together. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in time. That 21 force missed tackles is just ridiculous.
It is. And that was second behind Laporta, who had 22.
Yeah. Conyers is tied for my number 6 tight end on my list. So, he's right there with me. So my number 3 is, I believe your number 2 is Jatavian Sanders.
Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Brevin Spann-Ford. And Brant Kuithe.
Yes, of course. Sorry, I didn't mean to kill your.
No, you good. You good. Jatavian Sanders is my number 3, pretty close to my number 2. I thought he was honestly a little bit underwhelming as a route runner for how excited I was for him. He's still one of the better route runners.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
Did you watch him after Bowers?
No.
Okay.
I watched him before. He was my first tight end I wanted to watch.
Right.
I did not want to spoil the love with Bowers.
Yeah, we already knew where he was going.
We already knew where Bowers was going. And the question was between Jaheim Bell and Jatavian Sanders. So spoiler alert, who was going to be my number 2? And I already spoiled my number 2 right there. But after the catch, Jatavian's really fun. He's one of the better ones in terms of force missed tackles and just being able to not even looking at the quantitative figure. Qualitatively, he can do a really good job at shrugging off contact, being able to drag defenders, get that extra yard. Something I really like about him, because stats are great, but it's how you get those stats that truly matter. And, I'll reference stat numbers when it's crazy, like freaking Conyers here at 21 force missed tackles. But Jatavian was one of those guys I felt a lot more comfortable with just watching how he played. Honestly, a really solid blocker for his size as well. He is a good athlete. I think he was a little slow off the line, which is kind of weird. But, that's something that's kind of more of a nitpick than anything. But there's nothing that's bad about Jatavian. He just isn't spectacular in anything, but he's not a liability in anything either.
Yeah, good. Legitimately, really good athlete.
Yeah.
And I think his contested catch numbers, not bad, 53%, not bad, but I feel like it could be higher because he does it doesn't surprise me. He has basketball background. It's this guy knows how to position his body to go up for the rebound, so to speak. He was actually my number 2. So
yes. Yeah. But who's your number 3?
My number 3 is a favorite of yours, Alex. It's Luke Lachey out of Iowa. I know he's a big favorite of yours. Former 4-star recruit at the 2020 class. He initially, his father played offensive tackle at Ohio State, which is kind of weird how you end up at Iowa there, but kind of is what it is. He participated in basketball and in track or in high school before going to Iowa, and ended up redshirting his freshman season. Didn't play much in his sophomore campaign, or I guess redshirt freshman campaign. Then he saw a little playing time behind Laporta, as they would kick Laporta out to the slot, because why wouldn't you? Laporta is a freaking monster as a receiver. And I like that he has more of a traditional body type, right? He's coming in at 6'6", 252. Nice traditional frame. I think he's actually a pretty darn good athlete at that size too. Especially considering some of the guys we've already talked about. Like we look at the BSF and Conyers. Doesn't exactly have the numbers, of those guys. But I think now being hopefully the main tight end there, unless Eric All comes in and makes a statement, I like to see those. I think those numbers will go up. He is a wonderful contested catch guy, 66.7% last season. The hands, they're just secure, 3% drop rate. I think he does a good job of just kind of boxing out and high pointing. I kind of talked about that with Sanders, kind of just going up, position your body, and just securing the rebound. I think he does a good job just of like the hand-eye coordination, just following the ball into his hands. I know as a blocker, not a finished product, but he's got the body type. He has the want to. I think he has the physicality to. Like he goes for a lot of kill shots. It's just from a technical standpoint, it ain't there yet for him. Like whether it's getting bent at the waist when he does have to lock up with guys or engage, whether it's maybe like tucking his chin, which you look at that and you think, okay, maybe it's a weak core. I think some of that's just kind of a leverage thing. I think he could do a better job if he does get stuck engaging with somebody. Like just continue to drive your legs. I'm a sucker for guys, regardless of position, of driving your legs through contact. I think that's just something you can relish at any position in football in general. And he's someone who's not going to create after the catch. He's a battering ram. That's who he is. 3 forced missed tackles. It's not a big number, but I think he's a good athlete for his frame, and I think he's a guy that can definitely elevate. Now, Alex, why do you hate him?
So the thing is, he's still tied at number 6, but he's saved by the fact that his hands are extremely good.
Okay. You didn't tell me he was number 6 prior to this. After you crapped on him prior to our recording.
He's technically number 9. Out of the guys I have tied at 6, he's the one who I feel least comfortable being there because his hands work. Well, I mean, I say I hate him compared to him being number 2.
Dude, we are too extreme on this stuff, dude. I hate him. Late third rounder.
Him compared to how excited I was because I love Iowa tight ends. I love seeing guys who can block. Yeah, like Iowa tight ends are fun. He has a great frame. He has great hands. I honestly didn't really think, even though his contested catch numbers are good, I honestly didn't like how he played when catching in traffic. I saw like a drop here, a drop there, where he can get it punched out. I think that he can get a lot better in terms of positioning his body to where he keeps the ball away from defenders. Because that was the big issue I saw. Is like, I see a ball get punched. I'm like, come on. So I think that that's an easy fix. If I'm going to be completely honest, that's something that could just be worked on over one off season. After the catch, just wasn't spectacular. I saw these really good route running traits, but nothing amounted to any form of separation. And these are against, so I'm primarily quoting the Illinois game. Like these are not against Quay Martin and Devon Witherspoon. These are against other DBs. There's safety, I think, number 7. And he's getting absolutely no separation. One route he had maybe 1 yard of separation. That's because he illegally threw off the DB. I want to see somebody who can use the change of direction to be able to generate that separation. And then you can use a little physicality in there to get a little extra. But if you can only rely on it, that's what scares me. And at the end of the game, I did see him start kind of jogging, if not walking some routes. And for me, you don't give up until the last play, especially if you're an Iowa tight end. So he is tight end number 9 for me, but that's also because I'm not a huge fan of this class.
Who was that? I want to say it was a corner. Who was that corner that he was flying, but it looked like the most low effort? Like, was it Seven Banks?
Oh, damn. I thought we were talking about Nate Wiggins because he.
Oh no, I love Wiggins. Like
I don't
apparently
like
not enough, man. I saw him in a first round mock, and I was like, whoa. I mean, I said he had first round potential, but I wasn't willing to throw my balls on the table at that point.
To be fair, the tape I looked at Wiggins was before I studied and became in love with Johnny Wilson. So I was like, dude, this big hunky dude is just absolutely annihilating Wiggins, and it's like, oh, that's my number 2 wide receiver.
Early in the season either, yeah, because I know he struggled earlier in the year.
Yeah, I make sure when I watch tape, especially to watch towards the end of the year, because a lot of guys take some time to get up to speed. But yeah, I mean, I don't really like it when I see guys jogging on the field. So for my number 2, I already brought it up. It's Jaheim Bell. It's honestly a pretty thin margin between him and the others. If we're going to be honest, it could just be a little bit here, a little bit there. I love the versatility, the fact that he can be an H-back, he can be just a receiver, he can also be an inline tight end. Obviously, blocking is where he's not necessarily a top of the class guy. He was 230, now he's 240 pounds. And what I love is that Florida State did a really good job with a 240-pound tight end. I think his name was McDonald or something 2 years ago. And they know how to use guys.
It was last year.
It was last year? Damn. Really?
No, dude. Feels like a decade ago, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, even better. Even more recent history. They are used to using a tight end around 240 pounds. So there's already a role carved out for somebody who is of a similar size to one of their wide receivers, who's surprisingly heavier. But that's another talk for another day. But still, he's just really fun to watch, good in space. And he actually is surprisingly very good at the catch point. You could tell he knows how to high point the ball. Just a lot of translatable traits. The hands, you said it was about 5. I think it might have been like 5.7% on his career.
Yeah.
It jumped up last year, so I had to knock him a little bit for that. But at the same time, Spencer Rattler, not necessarily.
Look at this, dude. We're not even talking about QBs, just throwing shade. Just a drive by.
I hate this man. I'm giving Jaheim Bell all the credit in the world because I don't want to talk about his overall hands grade being a C+ in my future video. But I think we both know what the number one's going to be. I'll let you go off on
Brock
Mr.
Bowers is freaking amazing. For me, he's a top 5 pick. Even if he was still at 230, like Georgia had no problem saying, hey, you get in line and you just get after it. Like those Georgia guys can block.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even think it matters what size. Like Lad McConkey, whatever the hell. Dude's like what, 180, 185?
Yeah, he's a small guy.
Dude, wonderful blocker. But Brock Bowers, a little background information. Dude's a 4-star recruit, 2021 class, coming from Napa, California. He played quarterback and linebacker in high school while also playing basketball. His mother was an All-American softball player at Utah State, and she was actually inducted into Utah State's Hall of Fame, while his father played center for Utah State. And, no other notables there, but kind of is what it is.
Throw shade.
Don't throw shade. Yeah, I know, right? Sorry, Brock Bowers is dead. You catching these hands.
Yeah.
Not really. He played center. I don't want to throw hands with him.
Yeah, don't throw hands. Don't throw hands.
But dude was instantly an All-American his freshman season. Started 13 of 15 games. Last year won the John Mackey Award. Was the first team All-American once again. Great athlete. He could. This is like probably since Kyle Pitts. Like you look at a guy like you were an incredible receiving target. Like you could probably play receiver, get away with it easy. He played a good deal in the slot as well.
Yeah,
the dude's got good quicks, got a good release package for a tight end. Accelerates really, really fast. Gets to the top speed very quickly. Very sure hands, 70%. Contested catch rate over his career, 4% drop rate. Just a nightmare up the seams. Like just child's play. Easy child's play. He's a strong ball carrier as well. 15 forced missed tackles last season. Really the only concern I had was like the lack of size. But he was, like you just said, he's up to 240. And he's also going to be 21 years old by the time he takes an NFL snap if he comes out in next year's draft. So he's exceptionally young. So it's like, to me, I think he's a guy you're willing to take in the top 5. He's a blue chipper, easy.
So for me, I actually found out that he was one of the best blocking tight ends that I've seen, especially under 250 pounds. Like he was playing almost as good as Darnell Washington in terms of his blocking. I actually gave him out of 15, I gave him a 14.5. And y'all know, those of y'all who follow me, you guys know how much of a stickler. My next highest blocking grade is 11.5. So
Georgia boys can run block.
They can run.
You have to.
It's ridiculous. I thought it was one of the best blocking performances I've ever seen out of a tight end. I don't know if you can get much better than that. And then you factor in his size to that as well. And now he might have added 10 pounds. God only knows that maybe did the opposite of USC and then undersold his weight so that we have like lower expectations. God only knows. But Brock is an absolute freak of nature, and he is the reason I began grading all my tight ends also as wide receivers to see where they would fit in a team that wants to value them as more just a receiving threat. And I'm curious, out of the whole receiving class, where do you think I have Brock graded at as just a pure wide receiver?
Wide receiver 2.
3. He's actually tied 2.
Oh, I forgot. You really love Emeka.
Johnny. So funnily enough,
I forgot about him too.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, so it's Marvin. Then Johnny.
When you were like, "This, why is this wide receiver class not that good?" And then you start getting to a couple guys, and you're like, "Oh wow, no, never mind."
So 6 of my next 7 guys became my top 7 with Marvin Harrison Jr. It was
wild,
ridiculous.
Dude?
That was wild. I tweeted it out and I was like, dude, I fucking hate this class. And then instantly banger. And I was like, damn it. It was awesome.
Got
made me
good
so
real
happy.
quick.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap. I was like, Antoine Wells in there. Keon Cole was already in there. Antoine Wells, Jermaine Burton, Emeka Buka. It was just like, whoa. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. But yeah, he's tied number 2. So both my technically both of my number 2 wide receivers are 240 pounds. So maybe I have a type, but this guy is awesome.
Alex likes him thick.
I like the thick boys. Oh, I'm so glad this is going on the smaller channel. But other names to note, I want to just bring up Benjamin Yurosek, Stanford tight end. He's a fun one. Yeah. I thought he should have come out last year.
I thought he should have transferred.
You're telling me. Because, now we're even seeing that. Why do I want to keep calling him Davis Mills? I'm tripping balls. What is the quarterback's name?
Tanner McKee.
He's balling out in the NFL. So now it's not like you're going to say, oh, well, he had a crappy quarterback. Like, he's getting good PR. Unfortunately, I don't know if you're going to get much better than that there at Stanford. I doubt it. But, overall, yeah, he's I know that program's going down to the ground.
Dude, I thought he was going to go to I thought he was going to transfer to Notre Dame.
I think that would have been a great idea. He's a little bit small for Notre Dame. But
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he's 240. 242, excuse me.
But that's not terrible.
That's not terrible. But he's not good after the catch. That's for sure. He's kind of a bum when it comes to that. But when it comes to blocking,
I would say he's not good after contact. I think he's got.
I feel like that's all that matters, though. That's all that matters. In my grading scale, I have a speed and burst category for a reason to show who they're an athlete. And then after catch, after contact, that's a different thing. But Yurosek's not going to be that guy where you need 2 yards after he catches the ball and there's a linebacker there. Not your guy that you're going to want for that. But he very good athlete, good hands, reliable. Just going to be one of those guys who's a good late round pickup.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to bring up Bryson Nesbitt from North Carolina. He's probably going to be, if not the top target there, the second target 2 for Drake May. So yeah, he came was 4-star recruit coming in at 6'5", 235, but he's young. He's still developing that body, and which is kind of key because he's not that good of a blocker, just too inconsistent. But he played a lot in the slot, or he played offset, so it's it's not a guy that's a traditional blocker, but he reminded me a lot of Greg Dulcich, just a guy that can tear it up the seams. Because he is really he is a good athlete. He is explosive. He accelerates extremely well. He is going to be a vertical guy. And he's got the frame to really be just a problem, to just have that huge catch radius for his quarterback, which it's Drake May. I guess I don't know how big of a catch radius you really need when you got a guy that talented.
He's spotty with his placement.
Yeah. He's definitely more inaccurate than his numbers would lead you to believe.
Yeah,
at least
I agree.
Yeah, but
Josh Downs helped with that, to be fair. But
no, now he's missing Downs.
I love Downs.
Yeah, a lot of us did.
Yeah, my only issue with Nesbitt is really that size. I didn't really think he didn't wow me in anything necessarily. It's really adequate route runner, adequate after the catch. Not a great blocker, but not bad either.
So that's
good
why
hand.
I brought up like Dulcich, because I really think he could be that like.
Oh,
okay, yeah, he needs to be more nuanced in a lot of aspects, but like if you're just looking up the seams, he's just such a good athlete at just taking advantage of that.
I actually lied. Nesbitt was the first person in the entire class I graded.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah,
that's a weird.
I don't know why. Yeah, it was a weird one.
It's because of Drake May.
I think it was. I wanted to see a little bit of Drake May, and I was like, let's just check out his tight end at the same time. But yeah, I honestly wasn't wowed, but good hands. He's going to be a fun target to see if he can end up performing well as a tight end at that weight. But besides Brant Kuithe, he's the lightest guy that we've mentioned on the list by, not a noticeable margin, but enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, another one who I'll bring up is Rondé Gadsden, who's pretty much a glorified slot wide receiver, who's 225 pounds. He's weirdly really slow, but really good as a route runner. I don't really know how to describe that, but he's good after the catch, super reliable hands, and you could tell whenever Syracuse was in trouble, like he was their go-to guy to say, screw it, we're just going to throw up a YOLO ball. There could be open receivers, and this guy's still getting the ball, so he was force-fed a lot of targets. So he's reliable. As long as you can work somebody who's maybe not going to be the fastest guy into your repertoire, he's going to be a really, really good one. I actually really liked his release package as well. He was awkwardly really refined for someone who's pretty much a glorified big slot.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a big like possession guy, so it's like I think it's fine. I mean, I think he moves like a big receiver, so
he does. He definitely moves.
It's fair, and that's the thing, dude. That guy, he's listed as a tight end. Like, I think less than 10% of his snaps came in line, so it's like,
it's like
I do want to give a shout out. His dad is former Miami Dolphins, Rondé Gadsden. If you couldn't put two and two together, so
yes,
we love that. Right? Who do I want to talk about? I think I'm going to talk about Eric Gilbert because I might want to pour one out here.
Sure. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, he's at Nebraska now under one of the best coaches in college football, Matt Rule. And
you're not wrong.
Matt Rule, good college coach.
He's a really good college coach.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just hoping to see something from him this year.
Yeah.
If you remember, he had that great freshman campaign with LSU where he turned it on late and then decides to transfer to Georgia, kind of sat out most of 2021 because of personal reasons. Then he like showed up at winter camp at like rumored 300 pounds after being undersized. It was like, where did all this weight come from? We heard you were away from the team because of personal reasons. So it's like, I know, right? Yeah. So you're like trying to like put two and two together. But I know in spring practices leading up to 2022, he got down to 260. That's where he's listed at right now, 6'6", 260. And he only played 3 games because, fun fact, he was stuck behind Brock Bowers and freaking Darnell Washington. So, of course, he wasn't going to play. And I know last year, I want to say he was my number one because I was like, you got to believe the athleticism will hit. Like, don't quote me on that. I have a video. You can go back and look at it. Maybe I know he was at least in the top 2. Like, I was like, man, if this guy hits the athleticism and everything, because it's all there. Like, he has the athleticism. He has very soft hands. He was pretty darn good at the contested catch. And again, I'm pulling all this from his freaking freshman season at LSU, all of 3 years ago. Freaking love it. Oh man, I thought he used his hands well as a blocker despite the lack of size. Then obviously, he's back up to size. And now he's in Nebraska. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping things will turn around. He'll kind of reemerge here as someone that honestly had a lot of promise. So sure. This might be a case where, hey, we end up pouring out to a guy that we thought we were really high on. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's the second coming of Brandon Joseph.
No, other way around. Hopefully it's not Brandon Joseph where it starts out hot and just dies. Yeah. But
I mean, he should have been drafted though. He should have been drafted this year.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't that bad there for Notre Dame. But fun story about Eric Gilbert. One of my friends, they actually were in an art class, actually French class with Eric Gilbert. So he actually grew up there in Georgia and actually went to school there. So that's why he went back to Atlanta. Well, Athens, but that's an hour outside of Atlanta. Yeah. So cool little story right there. But I will end this off by talking about Austin Stogner, who actually dated one of my friends in high school. It was a prom date of her. So, shout out, woot woot. But he is my lowest graded tight end. Not for that reason, but
wait, hold on. Are we really just trying to end off guys that were like, yeah, we watched him and we were disappointed?
Well, I mean, it's just, I guess it's a cool story. But Austin Stogner also is a name that might be brought up in draft communities because he's been a reliable target for a while. I don't really want to talk about Cade Stover or Ben Sinnott.
I don't mind talking about Stover. I'll talk about Stover after you.
Yeah, I'll let you end off the video talking about Stover then. But for Austin Stogner, he was just he was underwhelming in pretty much every category, surprisingly. Not a good blocker either. And that's what he kind of gets for ignoring my DM. So screw you, Austin. But,
you include him because of his personal grudge. Okay.
Absolutely. There's a personal vendetta here. Regardless, good for him at 6'6", 250. And, he's surprisingly the reason why I kind of know that Spencer Rattler hasn't really changed at all, because he's Spencer Rattler's best friend and ended up leaving Spencer Rattler to go back to Oklahoma.
He was homesick.
No, homesick is Dallas. Dallas is his home because he went to high school here. So Spencer Rattler sucks. There we go.
Is that all you got about Stogner?
I don't really have much more to say. He was really underwhelming. There's not much I can say.
Yeah,
he can't really do much after the catch
too. Or like that, or it was illness. It was something with him.
There was something up with him, but he ended up taking more reps than Jaheim Bell consistently throughout the year. Even against Georgia,
Bell was busy playing running back.
Yeah, you're telling me. But even versus that Georgia game, he was in, I think, 3 times as long as Jaheim Bell, which is really unfortunate. But, he doesn't run the routes. He doesn't run routes very well. He had one really solid route on the very first snap. And I swear to God, all these tight ends, you'll read all my scouting reports. Right out the gate, they look baller. I'm like, oh, let's go. And they just taper off instantly. Very unfortunate, but Austin was like that. The hands aren't necessarily out of this world either. He's one of the more mediocre players. And since we were talking at the beginning about the tight end position being more and more versatile, there's just a lack of versatility to Austin. So he'll be potentially a good locker room guy to have, because at least he has some form of morals getting away from Spencer Rattler. But, he's maybe not the best in terms of talent on the field.
All right. Well, let's end this on a lighter note, because I like Cade Stover. I don't think I have a personal vendetta against him. There was just one game where I was like, not your best. Not your best. But I'll get to that in a second. He's coming in here at 6'4", 255, former 4-star recruit from Lexington High School in Ohio. He played running back, linebacker, and defensive line in high school. He's actually the all-time leading scorer at his high school in basketball, which is kind of nuts. He's I like writing all these fun facts about these guys if they're present. But he's a farm boy, and he credits former Buckeye teammate Jonathan Cooper, now Denver Bronco, as someone who he modeled himself after to become a leader there at Ohio State. He showed up initially as a defensive end, but made the move to tight end after he redshirted his freshman season. And he was primarily a special teamer until just last season. So this is a guy with not a lot of reps at the tight end position under his belt, at least significant snaps. And you could tell at some points, like the Michigan game. The Michigan game is like, okay, he is not the most natural ball catcher. Like there were 2 drops. One was a touchdown, but I thought it was a good play by who's playing the slot for Michigan? Mike
DJ Turner?
No, it's Mike Ristel or something. I don't know. He's in this class, but it was a good play. But I mean, the ball was in his hands and got knocked away. It's like I'd like to see stronger hands there. One was where he just wasn't athletic enough to reach out and get it. It was like literally the perfect place for CJ Stroud to put it. and just he wasn't able to get to it. And like I know I always reference that game, especially with CJ Stroud, because people point to it like, see, Stroud's bad, and I was like, his interceptions weren't bad. Like he had one incompletion that honestly should have been picked. It was like triple coverage, but like the interceptions weren't bad. They were a little fluky, but they weren't. I don't think they were bad decisions, but
he's mediocre.
I digress. He said Stroud's mediocre.
So far, he has been in the NFL.
Yeah, he started for the Houston Texans, bro. It's preseason. Get out of here. All right, but some of the things I really liked about Stover, physicality. This is a guy that played defensive line, and you watch him, and he plays with that violent nature. So I really like what he brings to it as a run blocker. He could definitely refine a bit in that regard, but I think it's trending up. It's great. He's going to be a special teamer almost immediately. Ideal size for the position. It's just hard to kind of like bring him down. You could go check out his touchdown against Penn State. Literally broke like 3 or 4 tackles on his way to the end zone. Love it. And he's actually a pretty good athlete for the position. Like not high end, but he's solid. And vocal leader, kind of talked about that earlier with him. But still being relatively new. Again, some of the nuances to the position just aren't there with him. He definitely needs a polish. Like again, like the physicality as a blocker, does need to kind of polish how he maybe approaches blocks, understands blocking angles, uses his hands and such. I don't think he has high-end ball skills, but again, a guy who was formerly of the defensive line. So the ball skills aren't going to be exactly ideal. But I think Stover's definitely trended in the right direction and could probably end up being a solid tight end too in the NFL.
Well, Stover is my second worst graded tight end. For the reasons that you mentioned.
But where's he at in terms of their defensive line ranking?
Well, he's going to be probably higher than JT Tuimoloau.
Dang it. I set you up for that one too.
Yeah, you did. But no, I mean, Cade is my last 2 lines of my scouting report, because the last game I watched was Michigan.
Michigan was a tough one for him.
So the thing that really got to me is said this dude looks like he's giving up. At the end of the game, he looked like he was slowing down, not really taking routes seriously. And just like I talked about earlier, not something I really like to see. Just like Lachey, I don't like when tight ends just stop playing, even when they're getting their ass whooped.
Though with Ohio State, they don't like the tight end's not really a featured role in the offense. They kind of just use them as
at least fake it till you make it though. Yeah, I mean, fake it till you make it, though. Like, I'm literally just seeing him, like, kind of do on the field. It's like, bro, when you're on the field, you run. You run. Unless it's designed for you to look slow, and then you, like, randomly burst out of it. I get that. There's some design systems where, you're supposed to just piss off the DB because they have no idea how fast you actually are. But in this case, it was just, you could tell the morale was really low on the whole team. And it's like, if you're going to be a leader, you gotta keep your morale up. Fake it till you make it, man. But, again, he is significantly higher than Austin Stogner. He was really close, actually, to Bryson Nesbitt.
Another unnecessary shot at Stogner.
Absolutely. But Stover had just the worst in terms of the percentage-wise contested catch percentages. I think it was in the 40s, not 30s. And it's because he's a D lineman. So for me, I don't naturally skills. Yeah, I don't naturally think I'd ever draft a tight end who doesn't have ball skills, because I think it's a big part of the position unless you're going to be an elite route runner / receiver like Brant Kuithe. So for those reasons,
I think his blocking though is going to make like
he's not a good blocker though. He's a feisty guy.
He can be though. That's the thing.
But he's not.
I think he's trending in the right direction though.
That could certainly happen. But I mean, at that point, that's called a fullback. That's called like Hunter Lepke on steroids. And I think that's
where's he at now?
Dallas.
Oh, Dallas. Oh.
Yeah, that guy ended up ruining my fun by moving in and taking over for Deuce Vaughn in the 4th quarter when I went to go see him. And I was like, give me another quarter of Deuce.
I mean, they're going to be used for 2 very different things, my friend.
Oh, I know, but he ended up being the star running back in the 4th quarter. I was like, put Deuce in, man. Very annoying. But You could do the outro.
Oh man. Well, go ahead and let us know who maybe you think should have made the list, or maybe guys that you've watched during this preseason process that you may like or dislike in the comment section below. We're more than happy to have that conversation with you. But as always, our friends, until next time, you be easy. Later.